Have you ever looked around and thought, why is it so hard for me to make and maintain friendships as an adult? Well, you're not alone. In today's episode, I want us to dive into the topic of adult friendships, something that I feel we don't talk about enough. I want to talk about how to create them, how to maintain them, how to cope when they suddenly shift or end. And joining me today for this conversation is Blake, a psychodynamic therapist and friendship educator based in Charlotte, North Carolina. She is the founder of Fig Holistic Psychotherapy and also the creator of the Friendship Deck, a conversational game designed to bring more depth and meaning into our relationships. I can't wait for us to have a conversation, so let's get into it. All right, everyone, I am so excited about today's topic. I feel like this has been such a requested video here, and to be completely honest, I didn't feel equipped to just share one video by myself, my own experience, because I just feel there's just so many little things that we can talk about here. And I'm still going through my own journey of developing like new friendships. Like I recently moved into a new neighborhood a little bit farther from where we used to live. And so I'm like in the trenches right now, trying to make friends, trying to, be familiar with my area. So I was really excited to get to share that part of my experience and then also just hear from your side, since you have basically made this like your specific niche on friendships and connection and how you work with your clients.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. And I think it's also awesome that you're naming like I moved. And this is something that I'm thinking about. I think the more we can offer space and normalcy, that it's good and right to think about our friendships because they are changing, and we can get into that. But yeah, they can be funky spaces.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I want to start off with this question because I hear it so often from clients. I've even said it myself, like other friends have said it. And why like are adult friendships so hard to make? Like we just feel like this is like this challenge. I don't know. I said that when I was in high school, but I think kind of getting into like my mid-20s, I started repeating that. Like friendships are so hard.
That's about the age that you'll start repeating it. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but as a millennial myself, I would say that we were not really set up for success when it comes to navigating friendships. I mean, we grew up with Friends and Sex and the City, which they have some important things to teach us about friendships, but we don't have the same four friends. We don't live in the same places. We move a lot. We're much, much more transient. There's studies that show, especially for folks in upper middle class, we're a lot more transient. And so we're going to move around a lot. We have less time. COVID really, really thwarted our social impulses, you could say. And so we hold back a lot more, and we're not as much in contact with wanting to be social. And it's just harder. They're not, I mean, I can go into so many things. They're not third spaces to go to. So it's like a big journey to get out and to do something different. We struggle with social anxiety. I mean, I think people are now, which I'm so glad about, talking a lot more about like chronic illness and the implications of that. That's going to change how we relate and how we connect in our friendships as well. There's so many pieces. I'll add this piece as well that feels important to name is, as a therapist, I'm working a lot with people where I always make this clear in, the consults, like this is definitely the type of therapy that I practice. We're looking at childhood patterns. And so we do find our way into a lot of relational trauma that happened early on that shows up in our friendships. So if we had these really strange, confusing experiences in our childhood with being cared for, receiving care, giving care, being mirrored, knowing how to connect in a kind way without sarcasm or meanness, those can all show up in our friendships. And so connection with other women or just friends in general can be really confusing.
Yeah. So I love it. Yes. I feel like I can relate to that. Like friendship is hard, especially with trying to navigate all of those like different obstacles and barriers. I, for one, felt like I had really good friends in high school. And then I saw my mom not have a lot of friends. I think as we grow up and depending on also culturally, like I think that there's just like sometimes we get closer to family and not maybe prioritize a lot of friendships. That was a little bit on my culture where we would prioritize a lot of family time, but less on this kind of like outside of family, the idea of just making friendships outside of the family. Also, my mom was very independent. So I never saw like someone have like a group of girlfriends and things like that. I had to create that. And so going into it, it just felt definitely really hard. I feel like I had a lot of mindset shifts. I personally have stopped saying like friendship is hard because I think that made it even harder for me. Like the therapist in me wanted to reframe it. Like it is challenging, but this is something that I'm choosing to do. It's a choice because I know that there's going to be benefits to getting that. Do you think there's like mindset blockers that you've noticed with your clients in regards to like pursuing new friendships or even maintaining them? Like any blockers?
Yeah. What's coming to my mind is a really phenomenal therapist. I'm in the somatic experiencing world. So Maureen, people who are in that know who Maureen Gallagher is. And she often talks about cleaning up your language. And I really love that, especially thinking about friendships. Like, how can we clean up our friendship language? So, right, even instead, you might say, like you're saying, I try not to say friendships are hard anymore. Another way you could try that on is there are parts of friendship that are really hard. Maybe not saying, I don't have any friends, because you probably have some friends. Maybe not. That might be true for some people. So I want to hold space for that. But I'm working to create new connections. So just gentle ways that you can empower yourself and make it so that friendship is not this all good or all bad space. Because as we're both naming, they're really beautiful parts of friendship. And part of why I love doing this work and why it feels important is to begin naming that they're really funky, nameless parts of friendship where we don't have a lot of language to talk about it. So in terms of mindset shifts, I would also offer you even wanting to make new friends is probably going to mean you're going to have to work and come into contact with shame, because for so many of us, we're taught you should just have friends and you should have a great group of girlfriends. And it just is the way that it is. You fell into it accidentally when you were in high school, and they're the exact same group of friends you have for the rest of your life, and you get married and have babies together at the end.
Right.
That's not reality. For some people it is. But for a lot of us, it isn't. And I mean, both of us are in the therapy space. I have changed so much since I have graduated college. So the connections change. We change. So I think just even being okay, it might feel a little shameful to admit I want new friends, or it might feel confusing or disorienting, but how to also offer yourself some care of the fact like, wow, it's really cool that I'm letting myself look at this part of my life that does have such an impact. And I'm letting myself create new relationships, find new relationships, and want more for myself. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Especially when I love that you highlighted shame and that you highlighted that it doesn't come naturally to a lot of us. It's like we're not just going to go to a coffee shop and all of a sudden people are just going to come here and say like, can I be your friend? Some people will. I mean, I've met those people and I'm so grateful for them. I'm always super grateful for the person who comes up to me.
Are you more introverted?
I feel like I'm in the middle. I feel like I am in the middle. If I'm in a room of people that are not talking, I will try to just like get people to talking. But when I have a friend, and this is what I love when I'm looking at friendships, when I have a friend where I don't have to do that and they're just naturally outgoing, I feel like, okay.
Like you feel really cared for and supported.
Yes. And so I've been very intentional. I love the friendships that are just like me, but I also love friendships where I can take a back seat and I don't have to hold the conversation, or
you don't have to work.
Yeah. There's no work. And I think that that's a mindset block for some people too. I've seen sometimes like on TikTok or Instagram where people are like, I just want the low maintenance. What do you think about what they say when it's like low maintenance and high maintenance friends? I'm sure you have some things to say because I feel a certain type of way about it. For me, I'm like, well, is it high maintenance to want connection? Is it high maintenance to check in? Is it high maintenance to
what is a high maintenance friendship?
Yeah.
Here's what I will say. I love that I am on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. We're both in those spaces. I love creating content to help people think thoughtfully about their friendships. And I also think with the explosion of mental health content, there's some negative sides to that especially around these pieces of individuality, boundaries, don't cross my boundaries. I think there was a really helpful shift to begin even thinking about your own needs and wants and boundaries in any kind of relationships. But the consequence of that is that we've forgotten how to be in community. And we sometimes like to believe this fantasy that friendships will meet all of our needs and we won't ever have to be annoyed or inconvenienced.
No conflict.
Right? And so do I talk a lot about conflict? Are there places that, and I know that we'll get into conflict a little later on, but to hold space, that is also part of being in community, is being inconvenienced, like picking our friends up at the airport. Let's all be honest. Does anybody want to drive to the airport? No. Do you do it for people you love? Yes. Here's what I'll also say. Robin Dunbar has done this really lovely research. He is a researcher out of the UK, and Google Dunbar circles. He shows we can have about 150 meaningful relationships at a time, but there are these circles, these social circles, and we can have 5 close relationships. It includes your family, your partner, and friends at a time. I really love that because I think that puts a really great boundary line around you can tolerate 5 deep, meaningful relationships at a time. And that's also how much we can offer and give into relationships. Like we can't give the best of us to 1 million people. So who are the people in your inner circle that do get your best time, that get, I think about when we're scheduling or thinking of making plans with friends, they're friends that it's like, I'll see you in 6 weeks when we can schedule you on the calendar.
Yes, for sure.
And then there are other friends where it's like, yeah, I'm free on Friday.
Yeah. Which is, that I think that's what I get with clients too, when they say, I have no friends. And then when we get into the conversation, it's more like, I don't have deep friendships. I don't have my 5, right? I have these friends that maybe are my catch-up friends, or like my once a month, every other month on the quarter friends, or the people that I see at a certain get together, but I don't have those deep relationships. And it's important to kind of highlight that because I too have said, I have no friends, especially in my period. I'm like, I have no friends, nobody. And then I'm like, wait, what am I thinking here? Like, why am I catastrophizing here and saying that I have no friends? And then to me, it's like, well, what am I doing to deepening those friendships? Like, how am I getting closer to people? Because I think sometimes too, we talked about tolerance. Sometimes, with everything that we went through with COVID and everything, I do believe that our tolerance to just reach out, to be vulnerable. There's so many things that require to build relationships that the world has made it a little bit harder for us. We have made it a little bit harder for us to tolerate being uncomfortable.
Can I offer a trauma-informed take on this too?
Yeah.
So I'm working with it. It's getting fully baked, but I'm calling it the umbrella theory for friendships. So think about this notion of umbrellas. Most of us have them, but they stayed stashed away, or we forget that we have them. And so in moments of stress, right, it starts raining. We literally forget that we have an umbrella, aka we forget we have friends. And this is backed up by our lovely bodies because we have this wonderful thing called a social engagement system that is turned on and working where it is safe and social, safe to be social. And that's what happens when we're in our window of tolerance, right? We can reach out. Our adult self is online. We can take in. There's some flexibility to things. There's some fluidity to things. It's like, oh yeah, right? I might not have the best friends in the world, but I can be thankful that I do have these friends and I'm going to work on these friends. Like we have these more wise thoughts and experiences. When we are not in our window of tolerance, when we're, in more states where there's a lot of sympathetic charge or there's a lot of parasympathetic charge, so more collapse, parasympathetic is more collapse, sympathetic's more of that anxiety, our social engagement system turns offline. So it becomes not safe and social to reach out. We are not thinking about, how can I ask a friend to take care of me? How can I ask to be cared for? We're thinking about survival. And so it makes sense that our thoughts are more in line with survival. No one loves me. I don't have any friends. I don't have anyone to talk to. Our brain literally forgets that we have support. And so it's up to us to learn ways. And that's part of what I do with my work with all people is how do we help our bodies and our systems connect to resources? And for some of us growing up, connecting to social support was not safe. But usually today, we can, if we are able to correctly differentiate between now and then, there's some people that we can safely reach out to that can be an umbrella for us and protect us against, or offer some protection against the rain. So
yeah, I love that analogy. Do you think, because we're kind of talking a little bit about just sometimes upbringing cannot make it the safest for us to get equipped with the tools needed to build, relationships as an adult. Do you think, I've been kind of hearing a lot about attachment styles, how they show up in our adult friendships. Do you think that's very much true? As much as like they show up for our romantic partnerships, like how can we navigate, or how can we just have more awareness about our attachment styles? Or do you think that that's something important that can help us?
I think it's a really lovely framework to explore with your therapist. But again, I worry sometimes it's become the new Enneagram or the new Myers.
Well, it's because I feel like us as a culture, we love to box ourselves in, right? We love,
which is fair. We love a category. We love organization. Yeah. It's safe. We can see where everything is, right? So on one hand, yes. But in all seriousness, because I know these are also genuine, and I want to be thoughtful because these are genuine questions that people have. Our attachment styles absolutely show up in our friendship. I also like to look at and make it more normalized that we have anxious parts and avoidant parts. And so are there places where if what was mirrored to us was we don't do conflicts, we push things under the rug, that's probably going to show up in your friendships. I mean, that's so much of my story. I can tell you the first time a friend came up to me. I was in college, going into my senior year of college. My friend approached me and let me know, Blake, what you said earlier really hurt my feelings. Can we talk about it? And I remember it being, I felt mortified that I hurt her feelings because obviously I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But outside of after I kind of got over that and we talked through it, I had this experience of feeling so grateful that she told me, and this big moment of like, oh my gosh, we can talk about these things. I had no idea that we could just say, hey, you hurt my feelings, and that we could have this great conversation and repair it. So our attachment styles are born out of what we have been shown and what has been mapped out for us. So we come by them really honestly. If we had a really anxious, let's say we had like a really anxious mom that freaked out anytime anything was going wrong and we wanted to tell them something. Mom, someone was mean to me at school. Oh my gosh, were they so mean? What did they say? Do I need to call their mom? It's like, oh, that feels really intrusive. So maybe as an adult, it's like, I don't even want to tell you that I'm upset because you might like come forward and freak out and it could be this really uncomfortable conversation. So I'm just going to hold it in. Yeah. Those patterns show up in ways, and of course they do. How could they not, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So do you think it's just more of like knowing the information can help you navigate what's going to be maybe an area where you might need to challenge yourself a little more, right? Like in the example that you used, like someone who has had those kind of experiences where like, I don't want to like really rock the boat, even though this is something, is something that I need to share. Maybe a friend like offended them or said something out of pocket or something, I don't know. And they need to share like this. It's like they're thinking about it too. I mean, I always tell my clients, well, like, have you had a conversation? They're like, no. Or my favorite is like, well, everything worked out. Like everything worked out. So I'm not going to say anything. And I'm like, okay, well, like we're not going to say anything. That's okay. But like in the future, what happens if this comes up again? Are we going to wait? Because I think most people will wait for things to just get fixed. And
because time does resolve some wounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would offer friendships are this really lovely space where a lot of us aren't seeing our friends every day. We might be seeing them once a week, every other week. And I think about the relationship that I have with clients as a therapist. We see each other every week, and that makes it a really safe container to say, Blake, I didn't feel seen in this moment, or like you missed me here, or I felt judged here. Like it becomes a safe enough container where the risk is low to begin having those, because you're also not seeing each other all the time. And you know, like this is only a 50-minute conversation, then I won't have to see you for another week. So there's some space in between. And I think about that with our friends. We're not seeing them that often. And so that can both be a good thing, that there's space to process and really think about, what do I want to say? How do I want to say it? But we also need to be mindful that it could technically become okay if we don't bring it up. Like it could just be water under the rug. But are we also enacting a really familiar pattern of neglecting ourselves, of turning away from ourselves, that we actually, there's a little more space to engage with and play with in the friendship. Is it going to be scary and uncomfortable and awkward? Absolutely. But there's also a lot of reward because it could create a much sturdier, safer friendship where it's like, oh, we can actually have these conversations. We can go so much further. And the relationship is actually so much stronger and sturdier that we've done this work and created this space to have open dialogue.
What do you think, or how have you helped clients approach or take the steps to maybe lean into conflict or even lean into what their body is experiencing at the moment, what's preventing them from getting into conflict?
I would offer it has to be a them choice. So I'm not going to push them to do anything they don't want to do. We'll look at the parts that are avoiding it for sure.
Yeah.
But a lot of our work is how to support you in being able to move into those conversations when you want to. Because I really trust that a person gets to decide to come forward when they want to and when it feels safe enough. And so a lot of it's like, can you feel your feet? How do we help support your body? Another big thing that I will say and that I often talk about is your younger self does not need to be the one that is navigating this friendship conflict. For a lot of us, it's our people pleasing parts that are like, oh my gosh, I can't handle that she's mad at me. How do we get through this? How do I make her not mad at me? Those are going to create superficial fixes. And so the work's also, how do we really get the adult you online? Because the adult you can tolerate conflict. The adult you can know that it's okay, that humans have funkiness from time to time and that you'll find your way to okayness. And can also give the other person space to have their feelings. The adult needs to be the one coming forward to having the friendship conflict. So those are a few thoughts.
Yeah. Do you think that there is, again, very in a box, right? And I think this is where, because I know some of my audience will want to know or are just curious, our idea around what does a healthy adult friendship look like? And in terms of green flags versus red flags. And I know there's so much nuance into it, but I'm just curious to you, when you're noticing maybe those patterns with a client and they're having a very tough time, maybe parting ways with a friendship that has shifted because it's no longer good for them, or a client who, maybe how we talked about it, how a client who says they have no friends, but really there's all these different people in their lives that they just haven't noticed the green flags.
Yeah, there's so much nuance here. So I spend a lot of time thinking about our bodies and our nervous system. Alex L. has this beautiful quote that says, the right people feel different to your nervous system. And so I often invite folks to think a lot about what their body feels like before, during, and after spending time with a friend. And what I call healthy friends, I've kind of coined it this term of your exhale friend, that maybe before you were super stressed out, you totally wanted to cancel on your friend because you're like, I would much rather get in my soft clothes and go to sleep or scroll mindlessly. But you're like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go hang out with my friend. And you do it and you have this amazing time connecting and being thoughtful, crying, laughing, right? The whole human experience. And afterwards, your body feels like it's just this full body, juicy exhale. That was so good. I think that's one of the most beautiful experiences of friendship. So that's what I call an exhale friend, is someone who you get to release with, that you get to not have to mask with, that you get to be honest and quirky and weird with, and know that you're going to be held with a generous gaze and generous space that is thoughtful and playful and curious. I also think healthy friendships are those in which there is space to challenge and be challenged in a kind way. I have thoughts on people who say, I'm just being honest and I'm telling you like it is. I think our honesty needs to have some kindness around it to be heard well. Nobody hears things well when it's just, I just have feelings about that. So I think we need to be thoughtful in how we give our friends feedback. But healthy friendships are those that can withstand, hey, I was super bummed about this. Can we talk through this? It's like, yeah, oh my gosh, I did not realize that. Wow, thank you for letting me know. Great signs of a friendship. I even say at the very beginning, if you can imagine having a hard conversation with a friend and your friend not getting panicked by it, but your friend's holding its meaning and being like, yeah, I want to work through this. You're probably on a good path. Green lights all around or green flags all around.
Yes. I love that. I've even those experiences when I remember meeting up this one person that my husband was like, you need to, I think you guys could be really good friends. And I was like, no, I had been on like so many like friendship dates and I'm like, no, I had been stood up and things like that. I'm like, I don't know if I could do this. I needed time. Like I just needed time, like just like with dating, you just need a breather. So I was like, I don't know if I could do this. So I like waited on it and he just kept encouraging me. He's like, you really need to go and like talk to this friend. And so I'm like, okay, let me reach out. And I said, hey, my husband thinks that we would be really good friends. And then we met up and it just felt like I've known her my whole life. And it was such a beautiful like encounter. So that feeling that you say like your body just knows that like you're with someone that can see you and hear you and like understand you. So that was such a beautiful thing. And sometimes we can let our, again, past experiences like detain us from stepping into a good relationship, a good friendship. So I was really proud of myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I came. It kind of felt like you said, like an exhale friendship, like where I felt like I could breathe. So just wanted to say that little antidote because it really stood out to me whenever I was engaging back as an adult to make new friends.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Take your time away if you need to, because we all need to, because being rejected by a friend is it's its own kind of tenderness. Mm-hmm. And care for yourself, support yourself, get back out there.
Yeah, rejection is so tough. And I think because a lot of people are craving like these deeper relationships, these deeper friendships, it can be really hard to start, especially if someone is introverted or like me in a new phase of life. What advice do you have for those people who may fear rejection, they just don't even know where to start?
The stakes for friendship are really high. So I don't think it's wrong to be afraid of making new friends and putting yourself out in that space. And I think that most of your listeners are women, but not all of them. We create some moral character meaning around other women not liking you. That's its own kind of like Tinder thing where there's a lot of normalcy of like, oh, it didn't work out with this guy, not the same thing. But if another woman doesn't like you or you don't get along, like, ooh, that's its own kind of painful funk. So when it comes to making new friends and putting yourself out there, I mean, think about how to set yourself up for success. I know when I move a lot. And so I usually try and find a spot that is consistent. And that's where I go with everyone because I know where the parking is. I know where the bathroom is. I know what's on the menu. I know which seat I like to. So I'm lowering the amount of newness that I'm going to experience because those things stress me out so that I just get to spend time with the person in front of me and feel into, do I like this conversation? Do I not like this conversation? And not worried about like, oh my gosh, am I going to be late? Where am I going to park? And by the time I get there, I'm already like depleted because I'm so worried. So I think that's something really helpful. And the other thing is consistency. So something I like to think about a lot in terms of why friendships are really hard today is that we don't have communities and third spaces holding us the way that they used to. So a long time ago, it would be things like being involved in your community, going to a religious place of service, being really deeply embedded in your community. And so it's like you have things like Wednesday night supper. You're not having to do the planning. You just show up and you get to socialize with your friends. Today, more often than not, you and your friend are the only ones supporting the friendship. So you have to plan it. You have to find dates. You have to make all the decisions. And there's a lot of decision fatigue around. So I like to think about how can we set ourselves up for adding in more support. So things like a 6-week pottery class. I know we're really into our hobbies right now, so let that help your friendships. Sign up for something that's really consistent because it is so helpful. 1, if you don't know what to talk about, you can talk about the hobby. 2, if you can't make it 1 week, the whole friendship is not completely thwarted and it will go on without you.
Yeah.
And I also think about the fact for those of us who are introverted or maybe more anxious, it can take some time for our true self to feel comfortable coming forward. Like we might need, I know I don't give you won't get the best me the first time you meet me. It takes some time. And so again, consistency allows you to become more comfortable, become more familiar. And it's like, oh, I really like this person. I like connecting with them. So yeah, consistency, show up in the same places over and over again.
I love that. Something that was really helpful for me in terms of when I was kind of starting to reach out to people and like start new friendships, was learning to give the friendships what they were in terms of like, this is my friend for Pilates. Like I didn't put so much pressure in like making this my best friend. I just, whatever the person could give me at the time, whether that was a friendship out of this mutual thing that we both love, or maybe it is like that one friend that I shared that we went to a coffee shop and we could just yap and like just connected so well. I felt that that has really helped me not put so much pressure on everyone. Because before because I was craving friendship, I would put so much pressure on friendships. And I'm like, well, everyone has things. Everyone has like, people have families, people have things. Like it's not so easy. Like when we were in high school and again, we had school as that one place where we're always meeting up, or we had practice after school, or we lived down the street, right? Those things that make friendships easy. I felt like changing the expectations and just allowing a person to show up for what they were at the time, for whether that's an activity, has really helped me. I don't know if that's one of your tips, but it helped me.
No, I think that's so beautiful. That's why it's even, I thought about that when I was reading the question of, say someone wants new friends or wants to deepen friendships. It's often like, okay, let's let go. Let's slow way down. How do you even sign up for Bumble BFF? Like that is a win. That's where we start. You just going, not even making a great new friend, but you just going on a Bumble BFF date. Like, congratulations, you have gotten your gold star.
Yes.
Make the stakes much lower because that will also help your nervous system feel a lot more relaxed. And again, when we're in our window of tolerance, when our social engagement system's turned on, and that's when we usually feel like our best selves. We can be funny. We can be playful. We can be curious. If we're really anxious, we're going to have trouble having conversations or keeping it going. We're going to sweat. We're going to be thinking about what we're going to say. It's just going to be a little jumbled, which is okay. It will happen. But again, how to make the stakes lower to set yourself up for success.
Yeah. And also knowing that part of it is feeling some of these uncomfortable feelings like fear. I always say, feel the fear, but do it anyway. Like, I mean, I know the fear is it's going to lower down as soon as like I'm sat and parked and everything else, you know? But yes, lowering the stakes is also something that can be super helpful for people. But I like that you pointed out, just starting, people hate when I say this, like starting small. I don't know why I think it's for anything. We think that there has to be like this big transformative step forward that we have to make in order to just like everything to change our lives. And I think that comes from like social media. Like we can instantly see someone's after, you know, like how I made friends, and you see the outcome right after, or how I lost whatever, and you see the immediate
home reno
result.
Shows in 90 or in 42 minutes.
Yes. And I think that that's like, we're human and we just have like all these baby steps. Like when I was pursuing fitness, I was like, I just need to enjoy it. First of all, I just need to find something that I enjoy and that I could stay consistent in. And from there, I can expand. And from there, but very much, I'm sure my audience, I hate to be a beginner. And I'm sure a lot of people hate to be beginners. And so would you think that part of it is like, you need to be a beginner? Like you kind of have to go back to like the basics in order.
Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, I think about her so much. She shares the story that at her dinner table growing up, her dad would ask her and her brother every single week, what did you fail at this week? She said it was one of the best, most transformative things her dad did for her because it gave her a different relationship with failure and a different relationship with feeling awkward. Instead of it being something to avoid, it was actually something to engage with because it meant that she was trying, that she was allowing herself to be a beginner, that she was again creating a tolerance for being a beginner. We have these fantasies that it's going to be this one thing, right? We're going to come to therapy for about 3 times and it's going to be wham, bam, boom, bam, like all better.
Yeah.
Change is so much slower and so much less sexy than marketing.
And it's not linear. Yeah.
Than marketing
linear.
makes it out to be. So yeah, I do think that we have to make more contact and become more familiar or be able to stay longer with feelings of awkwardness, discomfort, insecurity, right? It makes us feel insecure to make new friends. Okay, bear the insecurity and keep moving forward.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't mean to say it that harshly, but I do think that we have to be brave enough to bear that awkwardness, bear that insecurity to keep us moving forward towards the things and the relationships and the connections that we want.
Yeah. And I think like even just telling yourself, like, I'm choosing to be brave, and brave means choosing to fail sometimes, it's not, there's never going to be always this positive outcome. But if we want this, if we want to, and like, again, taking breaks, I think for me, that was very helpful, like taking breaks, because I had to, now that I'm noticing it, now that we're talking about it, I had to reset my nervous system. I needed to have to chill my nervous system down because it was going through rejection at the time. And I think a lot of us sometimes we maybe stay in those feelings for we don't know how to exit those feelings. And maybe we then overgeneralize that all these next experiences that we have are going to be the same. So how would you say, especially those who have gone through, I want to shift to friendship breakups because sometimes they can feel just as intense as romantic ones. So what do you feel? Why are they so painful? What are some of the healthy ways that we can move through grief in a way that can help us, move forward with, maybe attempting again to make friends?
Friendship breakups are really hard. And if you're listening and this breakup with my friend is more confusing and awful than a romantic breakup, that's a really common sentiment that people are finally telling the truth about, which I'm really glad for. And I think, again, it's because we grew up with these, my gosh, how many of us grew up with these bracelets and these necklaces that said best friends forever? They were broken hearts, so they should have told us something. But I digress. So we don't have a lot of categories to talk about friendship breakups. Again, it means something different. I'm thinking especially about female friendship. It means something different if 2 women were not able to make the friendship work. We become distrustful. I think societally, we are distrustful of women who don't have a lot of friendships or who have had friendship problems. And there's just, it's just a funky space. And so, and on top of that, let's say you're in a friendship group, navigating how you talk about some of y'all not being, or you not being friends with somebody in the group. That becomes really complicated because you also want to honor the group. You don't want to make the group, well, sometimes parts of us probably want the group to choose us and not choose them. But our adult selves can know, okay, this is going to be funky. This is going to be a lot to navigate. So I think holding that a breakup with a friend is going to take time to heal from, that it's really confusing, that it is okay to ask for support and help, aka allowing yourself to go to therapy to work through things like this. And I also, one of the best things that I offer people is kind of choose who your people are that you're going to talk about the friendship breakup with. I know that if I've gone through something, I still love the memories I had with my friend, and I still want to honor that they were a really important part of my life. And so I also want to honor how I talk about the friendship ending. And so I'm going to do that really thoughtfully by 1, only talking about it with very few trusted people. And 2, if other people ask about it, I'm going to have kind of a sentence. Yeah, we're not friends anymore. Or yeah, we just had some differences that we weren't able to navigate. And this is the way we're able to love each other best, honestly, because that's sometimes what I think about a friendship breakup is the best way we can love each other is to not be in relationship anymore.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I have an antidote to share because I experienced a friendship breakup where we were talking about conflict and I never said what bothered me. I never said what bothered me. That over time, it just felt like, this friendship is like, I just feel very disconnected from this friendship to the point where I feel envy. And I don't like that feeling. I don't feel like that should be a feeling that I would want to have to a friend. I wouldn't want my friend to have that feeling towards me. So I had to make the choice to be like, you know what? I feel like the safest option for me is to end the relationship. And so I did. Contacted them, said, hey, I just think that we have the same expectations of each other. I think that we no longer like serve ourselves. And I said it in a better way right now. It's like not coming off right. Sure. But I think that, our relationship has run its course. And I had to take personal accountability that the person was like, I'm blindsided. I didn't even know that's how you felt or anything like that. And I'm like, I take personal accountability for never saying any of this. And I hope now we're able to like move forward and you not have a friend that feels this way about you. And that was a hard thing. So I'm curious to know, how do you know? How do you direct your clients or to help them understand like when a friendship has run its course? Like for me, it was a feeling, like I didn't like the feeling of how I felt about my friends. And I also didn't have the tolerance to have a conversation, but I did hold myself accountable to in the future, not hold these resentments and share them in the future. Because I don't want to end like years of friendship over something that I never addressed and the person's blindsided.
It's different for everyone. I do not have a set of rules or of guidelines like here's a good friend, here's not a good friend, here's when to because I don't think that's actually relationship and that's not, that's not our job as therapists. It's to really help put people in contact with their own knowing. And so that's the most important thing is if I'm working with anyone for them to come to a place a full body knowing of this isn't right for me anymore. I'm thinking I am spending more time in my head worrying about the friendship. And I can't tell you the last time I actually belly laughed with this friend.
Yeah.
That might be her exit. Another person, it might be our values are so different and we are not the people we are when we first met. And it's really, really hard to be in a friendship where our values and the ways in which we see the world and the ways in which we vote are so fundamentally different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say changing of values is a hard thing to contend with in friendships. There are some friendships that can hold different values, but if your values are fundamentally different, that's hard. Not impossible, but it just is going to require more conscious thought and work and effort and communication. And like you're saying, in this certain friendship, I didn't have it to offer. That might be true for some people, or for some people, I know they have really different values and they work really hard at their friendship.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I think people just need to kind of look inward and see what, how does this relationship make me feel? And do I want to dive into, if it feels off, do we want to have a conversation? Or if it feels off, is it my body just naturally telling me that this is just kind of run its course? And it's definitely a hard choice, right? Because like nobody likes rejection. We talked about that. So I'm so glad that you were able to share some of your insights today just around the way we can approach friendships as beginners, as humans who are entitled to feel all the feelings and acknowledge that that's part of being a human when we're trying to connect with others. So thank you so much for sharing some of your insights.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.